You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those nerds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It podcast. Joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
Busy, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your snorts just hypnotize me.
And also joining us is Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Hey, Lisa.
Yeah?
It's my duty to please that booty.
Oh, and I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warmer, disco.
The Disco Dork. Dreams rise up, and I wonder if my body is made of hydrogen. And then my memories would be made of stone. And welcome to another edition of the It podcast.
It's getting hot.
I'd also please your booty, Darren, if required.
This is happening as soon as Turtle Dork leaves. We get down to it.
I appreciate that. Thank
This
you.
is a cave of romance.
Thank you. So how's everyone? How's everyone doing? Howdy, dorks.
I'm doing good.
Doing much better now that we're in the cave.
Yes, we are turtleless this week.
Boo.
And it's his birthday.
Maybe that's why he's recouping from a very busy birthday weekend.
We know that's not true. He's working hard.
Yeah, he's
for his
working
money.
hard. He's working hard for his money. So he's being
He's editing
a responsible
video.
adult,
Whatever.
right?
He's living his dreams.
I mean, if he was a responsible dork, he'd be here. He would have planned some time before that.
That's
he would
true.
have done the editing before.
He's being a responsible adult is what he's being.
Yeah.
Boring.
I'll get to see him tonight when we watch Game of Thrones. He's coming
Jelly.
over for that, and I will give him your harsh words, Brad. I'll be sure to pass those to him.
And you can give him my sloppy seconds.
Oh, all right. So Lisa, how was your weekend dork?
My weekend dork sucked.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It sucked. I had a huge migraine on Thursday. That
Boring.
just took my face off. Boring for Brad. Brad's like, that's every week. But because of that, I started scrounging for comfort. And I found comfort in a new comedy album. New to me. It dropped in April 2019. I'm sleeping on my comedy albums. But a new to me comedy album by Josh Gondelman. So Josh Gondelman, I can't remember exactly when I discovered him. Like I discovered him, like I'm a talent scout. Hey, you there. But I've listened to his two previous albums. His first album is Everything's the Best from 2011. And his second album is Physical Whisper in 2016. And I really like the fact that he has a background in education. So he was a preschool teacher and he was also an elementary school Spanish teacher. And he has maintained that vibe. He is like a super sweet, approachable, nice guy. And it's weird to have a comedian who's like defining features like, oh, that guy's nice. You can kind of say that about Ron Funches. Ron Funches is another like nice guy comedy guy, and he has his Netflix special Giggle Fit that's out that I've already recommended on this podcast, and it's amazing. But he has like a more of an us versus them vibe with his like nerd stuff, good doing the like early 90s pop culture stuff, and with Josh Gondelman, it's like.
He's like Andrew Dice Clay, a really nice, sweet fella.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that reminded me. We just watched Anthony Jeselnik's new special on Netflix. Do you know anything about Anthony Jeselnik? Okay, well, he is the modern Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh.
You go like, you wonder where that skill comes from. No, it's like he's doing a character.
Yeah, no. He
does one-liners.
He is Dice-like, but he is more in a mode.
He is like his thing, his shtick is super mean-spirited. Like, he did a whole long dead babies rant.
It's pretty good. I'd call it a rant. It's pretty good.
I mean, like, I would never do Anthony Jeselnik as my weekend dork because while I watched his special and
laughed a lot,
I chuckled my way all the way through. I do like walk away from that, that special going like, I don't know if I condone that. And then I just go on my merry way. But Josh Gondelman, I super condone.
Okay.
But anyway, super sweet, absolutely wonderful. But I kind of forgot about him. Sounds mean. He kind of fell in the background with some other comedians I was super getting into. And then he has bubbled up again because he is promoting this new album, which is called Dancing on a Weeknight. And he is also has written a book, which is available for pre-order now, called Nice Try, that I pre-ordered after listening to this interview just because he seems like such a nice guy. I'm like, good things should happen for him. So I'm just going to do my part and pre-order his book, and I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
I have stacks and stacks of comedians' books that I have never read.
Oh.
That's the truth. But I just at the opening of this album, I'm like, I cannot believe how in I am. He starts the album by super sincerely and genuinely thanking his audience for being there, especially considering that there is a Wu-Tang concert happening at the same time. And he's like, you guys could, it's only like 8 miles away. And I really appreciate you being here. And I'm sure this is, we don't like, this is probably more your speed anyway. But then he tells I won't spoil it, but my second favorite Wu-Tang Protect Your Neck joke of all time. Ron Funches still has my number one from his album, The Funches of Us. But then Josh Gondelman calls himself the cardigan of people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to be. I strive to be the cardigan of people, like cozy, a little dressed up, arguably approachable, right? So I just loved that. And like, I've been kind of hesitant to listen to comedy albums post November 2018. And, like some albums from pre-November 2018, because the hope is depressing. But especially post 2018, just because of the trash fire of a political climate that we're in right now. And, like, there is an escapist element to comedy, and it's hard to lose yourself in it when you're just getting so riled up or whatever. But I also don't want to seek out comedians that are not, like, let's say, talking about Trump, because not talking about Trump is like a political statement and like a nebulous one, and this is definitely not a time where you should be politically nebulous. Right. So I've just kind of been,
dancing around,
finding new comedy albums. But I think that Josh Gondelman is able to, he talks about Trump. He talks about like all of the hot button issues that seem to be floating around in comedy albums, catcalling, guns in the classroom, like arming teachers, which he has, of course, a really interesting perspective on, considering that he was a former teacher. Right. But he does it in such a way that seems like very reasonable and very sweet and non-judgmental, which I find really beautiful. Not in like a, who is right, but in like a, we all make mistakes kind of way. Yeah. He compares, he brings up how, at the, like a year ago, like there was this huge push for Oprah Winfrey to run for president.
Oh yeah.
And he talked about how some people are saying, well, we can't have another celebrity president. Like, look, we elected a celebrity president, and look what's happened. And Josh Gondelman goes like, well, that's like if you eat a bicycle tire and then you're like, no more round foods. I've tried round foods and I'm never like, so it's just a really sweet, fresh perspective, I think, that doesn't make me want to tear my hair out, which I think is wonderful. He also talks about, his life. He talks about his dog, Busy. He talks about his wife, Maris. And I think that if you are in the mood for a cardigan of a comedy album, it's super approachable, super adorable, and you can go back and listen to his 2 previous albums because they are wonderful.
Lisa would not let me sleep at last night.
Yeah.
Because she had to play me at least 2 tracks to show me that I'm going to want to listen to the whole thing.
Was she right?
It's pretty funny.
Okay. I played him the track about his dog Busy, and I thought that because it's about how he likes to sing songs about his dog Busy.
Yeah.
Which is where your quote comes from.
Which is where my quote comes from. And then the other one is about how he's fairly newlywed to his wife Maris, and he gets targeted advertisements for marriage stuff, but because he's a dude, he gets they're dude wedding advertisements where they still haven't figured out how to advertise to straight dudes, because the closest anybody's ever gotten is Axe body spray, and it's wanna fuck, and then straight dudes are yes.
I believe it was suck your dick.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know. I can't remember.
That you played me.
I can't remember if Josh Gondelman swears on this album, but it super feels like he doesn't.
Suck dicks.
Is that swearing? I don't even know anymore.
Oh.
But he does a really funny take on he would receive repeated advertisements for wedding rings for douches. And one of them is called The Lone Wolf, where the irony of a wedding band called The Lone Wolf, if you're getting married, you have to be a team wolf.
Yeah.
And he does a little act out where he pretends that, he's the lone wolf, and they're he ends his wedding vows with psych. And then pulls out a Harley and starts riding off. And the wife is like, I thought you said I do. And then he's like, no, I said, arrrr.
And he pops a wheelie to signify his single status.
Yay! So thank you for listening to another edition of Lisa Poorly Retells a comedy album that you should actually listen to.
These are my favorite segments.
It's beautiful. I mean, I just think it's so nice. And who doesn't need something that's nice? It's like the Muppets of comedy albums.
And that's on Spotify and stuff, Lisa?
It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. It's on Amazon.
Is it on iTunes?
I'm sure it is.
Okay.
I think it's all of the places.
Okay.
And you can be like me and pre-order his book without having any idea what it's about because you want nice things to happen to nice people.
I do want nice things to happen to nice people.
And particularly former educators who are now following their dreams.
I always know when Lisa's enjoying a comedy album because I'll see my Amazon account light up with a bunch of book purchases from some unknown comedian. So there you go.
It's hard to make money.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. We also hosted another It Mod.
It's called
Still Awesome.
Yay.
Mars Attacks. The movie's great.
Yeah.
If you're tired of nice stuff and you want something super salient and sad,
a lot of heads explode.
A lot of heads explode in that movie. You know what's interesting about Mars Attacks? I did not notice it when I rewatched it earlier this year in prep for Still Awesome. In the theater, you really notice the lack of score. Obviously, there's the main title sequence when Danny Elfman's score kicks on, and it's very rad, and Ed Woody in 50s. But the setup to Mars Attacks is very quiet, where it just keeps cutting from one blank set to another blank set as it ramps up this idea of something's happening. The aliens are coming. The Martians are coming. It is very much like a 70s disaster film and feels almost like a TV movie for the first 15 minutes until they finally show up and, obliterate Paul Winfield.
Yeah.
It's every time I watch the movie, I always forget how long it takes to get to the aliens. And then when you get to the aliens, you're shocked at how much movie you have left. Yeah. I don't know. The pacing of it is bizarre and it's a total time warp. I don't know what happens in that movie. It's wonderful though.
It's cool to see a 70s disaster film filtered through 90s lens.
And to see this 90s era cast. It's
Yeah.
like such a bizarre group of
That
people.
cast is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
How was it received with the audience? Were there a bunch of people who hadn't seen it?
No, it was a lot of people who were fans of the film already.
They loved it. They had a
And,
good time.
yeah.
It was one of our larger crowds. And
There was lots of laughter.
Lots of laughter. And not to get a little sad, but the projection was terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
and people. It was jerky.
it was like something was off about the DCP.
Okay.
So it felt like frames were missing. So for the first 20 minutes, I had a real difficult time just getting into the movie. But eventually I got in.
Yeah.
And the crowd helped because the crowd was really into it despite the projection error.
Okay.
But hopefully that won't happen anymore. We're still awesome.
It certainly won't happen on the 19th of May.
Yeah.
Tank Girl?
For Tank Girl. Yep, that's right. Another 90s classic. Still awesome. Is that 90s?
Yes, it is 90s.
Okay, good.
I don't know if it's still awesome. Lisa, I'm going to take your word for it because I've never seen it.
I barely remember it. And when I was like a tween, I was
Okay.
like, this is so cool.
So Lisa can't say it's still awesome, but definitely Darren can, right, Darren?
What?
It's still awesome. You guys, who
You
picked
can't-
this movie?
I don't know, but I'm excited. We're co-hosting with Four Color Fantasies, which is soup's fun. Oh, it's going to be the premiere of Physics' new video.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you should come out.
Yeah. If we're not cool, physics is definitely cool.
Come
So-
for the
He's cool.
physics. Stay for the physics. He's a great guy.
yes, please.
And, Ice-T, he's a
Ice-T
kangaroo.
is a kangaroo.
And hopefully
Yeah.
Gabby will come and she's my friend.
Yeah, Naomi Watts is in it. Lori Petty.
Is she?
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Okay.
So I'm excited to watch it.
I can't believe you've never seen Tank
Yeah.
Girl, bro.
I've seen bits and pieces on Comedy Central back in the 90s.
This will be our third comic book movie we've shown as part of Still Awesome.
That's
Because we
right.
did Ghost World
This world.
and we did
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Pilgrim,
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Not your average.
All
comic book
hosted
movie.
by me. Who's the comic book nerd now, bitches?
Oh,
That's
that was-
you.
Me.
Well, thank you for that, Lisa.
You're welcome.
What else you got for your weekend door? That it?
That's it. Oh, and I had a migraine. I don't recommend
I'm
it.
so sorry. Is it gone now? Are we good? Are we migraine free?
Never. Well,
Oh.
right now in this second,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm in an eternal loop. One of my new and fantastic prodromal symptoms is euphoria. So anytime I have an idea, I'm like, am I getting a migraine?
Is a migraine coming?
Yeah. Actually, if you guys, I think it's 2 episodes back, you get to listen to me have euphoria on this podcast, and I'm just chock full of ideas.
Yeah, it's when I wasn't here.
Yeah, it was when Brad wasn't here,
Listening
and I
back
was
to it, I was like, is Lisa on drugs?
bouncing off the wall. I ended that recording going like, I think I sound like I'm on cocaine. And it turns out I was just on some super wonderful migraine.
Inducing euphoria.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, but fun, but bad.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because you know what? Euphoria, Lisa makes plans. She starts things. She talks to relatives I haven't talked for forever. And then, like, migraine Lisa is like canceling plans,
Oh, well,
cutting off relationships.
well, I'm glad you don't have any euphoria or migraine at the moment.
Yeah.
Brad.
Yes.
How was your weekend dork?
My weekend dork was great as always.
Are you just saying it like that to rub it in Lisa's face because hers was
yes,
shitty? Oh.
yes, because
Notice his life doesn't slow down.
when Lisa
Right.
had that migraine, I think I watched 5 movies that night. She started to get that migraine around 5 o'clock, and I just stayed up until 5 a.m. watching
I'm
movies.
light sensitive, sound sensitive, openly weeping. Brad's
Yeah.
like, yay, movie day.
Yeah. To be honest, most of my week was spent rewatching Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
I've seen the film 5 times now.
Yeah.
I know that's not as many times as Darren has seen it.
It's okay.
You've seen it 7 times, is that
Yeah.
correct? Yes. That's 15 hours for me. You've seen it so many times, I can't do the multiplication math. So we'll just move on. But I wish I could go back and redo our review cast of Avengers Endgame. And listeners, I'm not planning on spoiling anything if you have not seen Avengers Endgame yet, but I might also, so you can skip ahead if you're that afraid. But the movie's made $2 billion in 2 weekends.
Odds are some of that money is yours.
Yeah. Having watched it now a bunch, I feel like I appreciate the character arcs and the character endings of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff a lot more. Would those have been the endings I would have written for those characters? Maybe not, probably not.
Yeah.
But as is, it does really work for me. And when we watched it that first time, I teared up and I got emotional, but I was still very distant from it because you're just trying to make heads or tails of the narrative.
Right.
And now, like by my fifth watch, I'm a weepy mess. It's
Yeah.
crazy when I watched it last. It was like the most emotional I got watching the movie. And the great thing about when a film is this popular is that every time I went back to the theater, it was jam-packed with first-time watches.
Yep.
So the last two times, I was getting emotional by the crowd around me getting emotional. When Lisa and I went and saw it at the Tyson's Corner Dolby Prime after our review cast, we couldn't even get seats next to each other. Lisa sat 5 seats away from me. And there's a group of teenage girls, and like by the end of the movie, the one girl in the middle of that group of teenage girls was devastated, like crazy crying.
Yeah.
You know,
But this is like their boy band. Like,
yes. But then on my fifth watch, Lisa,
Ooh.
I'm sitting next to a guy who looks like he's walked out of Pineapple Express, like the cast of Pineapple Express. He's this like stoner dude about my age, and he's like obnoxiously laughing at all the parts, which I don't have a problem with as long as you're engaged in the movie. That's funny. But I mean, like, he had like a very loud, noticeable laugh.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, he was like that teenage girl. His face was red and wet and streaming, and he could not deal with the ending of a couple of these characters. And I loved seeing this film affect so many different kinds of people in the same way. So I don't know. I think Avengers Endgame and the MCU in general is just such a unique cinematic experience. And whatever you think about it at the end of the day, if you like it or you don't like it, you cannot deny that it connects with a whole lot of people. And that is a rare thing, even amongst blockbuster cinema. You don't see something like this, $2 billion, 11 days. And, you know, I could get lost in the terror of Disney owning everything on the planet, but I still bask in the beauty of what they have accomplished with this film and this series of films. So I am profoundly moved by it. And, you know, I went back and I rewatched Infinity War right before one of those watches, and I would really like to see those two films theatrically paired.
I was so hoping that some place would show like a double bill of Infinity War.
Like, I don't need to watch all
Right,
22 in like a 5-day stretch.
Right.
But those two films, they really do feel like one movie. And if I were to rank the MCU movies and just consider Infinity War and Endgame as part 1 and part 2, it would be my favorite like experience.
Yeah.
Just those 5 hours
Yeah.
is, you know, it's everything.
Yeah.
And totally works. It is one of those rare movies that I feel like sticks the landing. You know, you watch a TV series and you're like, Deadwood, you didn't end properly. Lost, what are you doing? Battlestar Galactica, But I came away from this, and I don't think I could say that after the first 2 times I watched it when we recorded that review cast. But this time I can say I am 100% satisfied with the movie.
Yeah.
I give it 4.5 stars. That half star is me still dealing with what I want certain characters to do.
Right.
But as is, it just, I don't know. It's crazy. And I just want to keep talking about it. I love listening to other people's podcasts ranting about it. I've really enjoyed the conversation surrounding Avengers Endgame. So yeah.
that was so spoilery, Brad. Now everybody knows that the movie has an ending, which implies that it has a middle.
Characters end.
Yeah.
And I implied what 3 characters have an ending, but you know, we all knew that contract wise. But yeah, so I don't know. So that happened. What else happened? Well, we lost John Singleton. Young, you know, was he like 51? 51,
Yeah.
like crazy stroke, and then gone. Just like Luke Perry this year. Very strange. And he's a filmmaker who I always went and watched his movies, but he wasn't the type of guy like, I don't know, like Quentin Tarantino or somebody where I eagerly anticipated each film. But then I decided to go back and watch a couple of his earlier movies. I rewatched Boys in the Hood. I watched Poetic Justice for the first time, and just really appreciated him as a visual filmmaker. I forgot how visually arresting Boys in the Hood is. And emotionally and performance-wise, for a first film, like what he got out of Ice Cube and what a gift Larry Fishburne is in that movie. Boys in the Hood, I hadn't seen it in 20 years. That movie's a masterpiece. It is a great movie. Highly recommend you going back and rewatching some John Singleton movies. I'm going to go through his entire filmography. Aaron and I are going to do an episode on Rest in Pictures around John Singleton's career. So that was a bummer. And I hate how, when a celebrity dies, you go, oh, well, it's my compulsion to go and celebrate their filmography. And I wish I was celebrating his filmography more as he was alive and appreciating him more as he was alive. And I feel like I wish more producers and audiences appreciated him. I wish we all did him better because he sort of faded away. He did a couple movies there towards the end. He did that Taylor Lautner film Abduction, and he's done a bunch of TV. But we never got that, Boys in the Hood again. Really.
When we talk, and I'm guilty of this, but frequently on the podcast, we marvel at the debut films of certain directors.
Yeah.
Like most recently, we champion and we're amazed at Boots Riley and Jordan Peele for Get Out, and
Robert Eggers for The Witch.
Neil Blomkamp for District 9. Like a lot of people forget, including myself, that Boys in the Hood was John Singleton's first film. He was 21, 22 years old when he made that.
Baby,
it's astonishing to me.
Yeah.
And when you look at the quality of the film, you look at the caliber of the performances in that film, and like you just said, to be a young man at that age to get those performances out of Larry Fishburne, Cuba Gooding Jr., Morris Chestnut,
Morris
Ice
Chestnut's
Cube,
so good in that movie
right?
too. Oh, brutal.
And so it really is a testament to who he was as a visionary, as a director at that young of an age. Even if the rest of his filmography or career never reached the heights of or got to the level of what Boys in the Hood ultimately ended up being, the fact that he has that film in his filmography can never be denied or taken away.
This week, NPR reissued an interview that Terry Gross did with John Singleton shortly after Boys in the Hood, and I'd recommend jumping onto their website or Apple Podcasts or wherever and listening to that interview because it is a fascinating listen. So I did that, and then yesterday was Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
Lisa and I, after some car troubles, we had to take our car in. Everything's fine. It's okay. And it wasn't that expensive, miraculously.
Yeah.
We went to Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland. A bit of a hike for us, but they really do up Free Comic Book Day right. It's a massive presentation that they offer.
They have like a mini Comic-Con festival atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Artists there.
dope.
They have writers there.
Face paint for kids.
Face paint for kids. They have a massive 50% off trade paperback sale. They have everything in there that's a trade paperback 20% off. So we drove out there. We spent an hour inside. The line, there must have been 100+ people in line.
Yeah.
It took us 30 minutes at least to get through the line.
Which is great because then you're just slowly walking past all of the aisles. It's like, let's browse part 2.
Yeah, it actually is kind of nice.
You mean checkout line?
Yeah, the checkout line.
Okay.
So the checkout line, they had it weeded through the store, and they had it weeded through the pop section of all the Funkos. And so you're just like, they have an Axel Foley pop? What?
Wait, what?
Yes, Darren, they
Really?
do. Yeah,
Shit.
he's in Beverly Hills Cop 1 attire. He's got that gray sweats shirt on.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
you can get that pop figure.
Huh.
So I had a lot of fun with that. Of course, took part in the free comics, picked up a bunch of those.
We did buy a bunch of the not free comics.
Well, I think it's important that when you go to Free Comic Book Day, that you also support your local comic book shop.
Yeah.
You know, don't just take all the goodies.
You get any good finds?
Actually, I did. I found 2 hardcover Avengers books that Jeff Johns did about 10 years ago that I've always wanted to read and never seen, and they had them on sale. So
Yeah.
I scored those. I also picked up the new issue of Savage Avengers. Have you heard about this, Darren?
No.
Savage Avengers #1. Okay. Were you aware that Marvel recently got the rights back to Conan the Barbarian, Darren?
No.
And they are now publishing Conan the Barbarian comics.
Really?
And they're pretty good. Jason Aaron's in particular is really good.
Yeah.
But there's been a time heist situation that's occurred, and Conan has come to modern day, and he's now part of the Savage Avengers.
He's
Darren.
on a team with She-Hulk.
No, he's not on a team with She-Hulk.
Oh,
Sarah.
in my dreams he
In
is.
your dreams. He's on a team with Wolverine, and the first issue
Who's
has...
like the She-Hulk of the X-Men.
Yeah.
he has an encounter with Wolverine. He's impressed by Wolverine's unkillable status. He's on a team with Venom. He's on a team with Dr. Voodoo. He's on a team with the Punisher. And he's on a team with Elektra. And they're all in the Savage Land fighting a crazy cult that I guess has come from Chimera or somewhere in Conan's time. And they're all battling these wizards.
What?
It's wild. It's illustrated by Mike Deodato Jr., who I used to not like as an illustrator, but I've really become fond of in recent time. It's a gorgeous looking book. And who wouldn't want to see Conan drive a broadsword into the skull of Wolverine and Wolverine go like, hey, bub, that hurts.
Jeez, I want to see that.
It's pretty great. I'll give you the issue after this recording. It's a lot of fun. So that's my Weekend Dork.
All right. My Weekend Dork. So since we last recorded, I have seen the controversial third episode of Game of Thrones.
As have I, Darren.
That was something that Turtle Dork and I were in a rush to get home to watch and record so we can do our reaction videos. And so I'll start my Weekend Dork there.
Okay.
The hype around this episode.
And the series in general. I mean, it is the Avengers Endgame of television right now.
It is. But specifically this episode, which is entitled The Battle of Winterfell, because this battle was supposed to be, or is, the longest sustained battle sequence ever shot for television or something like that. And because of the production length of the particular battle sequence, it was being compared to the Battle of Helm's Deep,
Not fair.
The Two Towers. Really, having seen it, really not even fair, just and not apt, and not an apt comparison at all. I admit I bought into that hype, and it was one of the reasons why I was really excited to see this particular episode. Plus, more importantly, what would happen to a lot of the characters in the show during this episode, who would be making it out alive? How would this battle affect certain characters, even if they did make it out alive? So that when it comes to this show, and I pretty much, if not said this, exhibited this in the past when we've done our reaction videos, what excites me the most, what I've enjoyed the most, aren't the Battle of the Bastards episode, which I enjoy, but it's not like Hard Home, the sequence, which I enjoyed, the fight north of the wall. But it really is all of the character stuff. Like
episode 2 of this season, A Night of Seven Kingdoms, an amazing episode.
Amazing.
Maybe one of my favorites.
Same. And it's strictly character based. It's strictly character driven. And so, having said that, going into the Battle of Winterfell, my excitement is, okay, how are we going to what character progression are we going to have within this battle? How are my favorite characters going to be affected by this battle? Not so much the sight of, thousands upon thousands of White Walkers and dragons flying around. Like, all that's cool, but I want to know about the characters. Well, anyway, the episode starts, and I don't know,
We're going to have to spoil this whole episode.
Okay.
Right. I feel like we have to.
Spoiler warning. If
I
you
wanna talk
haven't
to
seen
you.
the episode, just tune out for about 2 to 5 minutes.
I've already tuned out, so you guys can catch up with
Wife
me.
Dork. So they do the thing where you set up, or at the very least, all of the armaments at Winterfell, the different. The Dothraki, we have
how exciting that is.
Yeah, we have the Unsullied there. You got everyone who is within the walls of Winterfell on the walls out looking out, And then you have John and Danny on the dragons outside of Winterfell, perched up on some hillside or whatever, just overlooking the battlefield.
Just chilling,
right? And so I guess I'm not going to go step by step through this particular battle, but I will just highlight my issues with it. Firstly, it's no secret that a lot of people took issue with the cinematography of the battle, it
Sure.
being too dark.
Yeah, I couldn't see what the hell was happening.
So my issue necessarily wasn't it being too dark, but my issue was mainly the staging and the camera placement and blocking. Like, and I get, you want to put the camera into the middle of the fray to give a sense of how chaotic it is. I understand that, but if you do that at the service of
you have to maintain the geography. Yeah,
exactly. And so one of the biggest things that I feel was against this particular battle, and if we're going to talk about a comparison to the battle at Helm's Deep, is a large portion of time is spent before that battle in Helm's Deep actually kicks off, establishing geography of where everything is and where, in relation to, outside of the walls, like also inside, because that battle eventually spills over inside those walls. And it's done and I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but to the best of my knowledge that I can remember, it's done in ways where it's almost masked by scenes of exposition and people getting ready in preparation. So it's not just aerial shots of, okay, this is where this person is.
I guess you could argue that the second episode of Game of Thrones, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, kind of establishes that, kind of does that. But to me, it's what you're saying is like once it kicks off, I literally don't know where characters are in the castle,
right,
like behind the wall,
right, in relation to one another,
right. Like where is Bran versus where is Jon Snow versus. Well, I know where Daenerys is. She's in a storm somewhere.
Which that didn't make sense to me. Like we spent a lot of time cutting away to them flying around into each other, and why aren't they on the ground where they're more useful and more needed? So there's a sequence where they finally set a protective moat on fire. So there's this ring of fire blocking the entrance to Winterfell, and then a bunch of the White Walkers are just standing there staring at the fire for like 10 minutes. Why aren't the dragons setting them ablaze while they're just stationary to take them out to create an even larger wall of fire? Is beyond me. And I get it. It's really one of those things where they kind of paint themselves into a corner with having those two dragons because they're almost overpowered. Because if common sense wise, that battle should have only lasted maybe 10 minutes.
It's kind of like Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch, right? They're so powerful, you got to find ways to distract them from the rest of the
group,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I just wish that they would have thought a better way around that. And so just the writing in that just didn't make sense to me.
I'm less concerned with the darkness of the episode.
Same.
Like, okay, my internet's garbage. Everything turns to blocks, and in night scenes, it's the worst.
Right.
But I'm sure it'll look better on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But I think editing, staging,
Same.
That's where the real problems are.
I agree.
And then narratively, I think there's some issues with the Long Night episode as well.
Yeah. Like with Jorah dying, right? Yeah. Like I feel like a lot of things were done in this episode for the sake of drama as opposed to being in service of a coherent or sensible narrative, right? So again, with the White Walkers staring at the fire instead of them being taken out when they're all in one place, just so you can have the drama of, oh shit, they're going to fall over each other so they can breach the walls, because that's a dramatic and intense moment, right? And also for Jorah, this is a very dramatic and emotional moment, him dying like that. But to me, like, I don't, and maybe that's, maybe I'm doing a thing where I want what I want, so I'm not happy. But it just doesn't make sense for him to, like, I don't know, like, him just dying in that way just wasn't satisfying.
To me, Game of Thrones has never been that interested in the weird mythology of the White Walkers.
Right.
But we've had 7 seasons to build to this moment, and it's going to wrap up this storyline, basically.
Right.
I mean, I assume so. Who knows what happens in the next episode? But I don't think White Walkers are going to come back after this. You build to the Night King, Bran,
Right.
and then Arya hops out of nowhere and defeats him, and I think that's cool, and I think it's great for Arya's arc.
Right.
You know, this person who has been dismissed her entire life, and so, you know, she cannot pick up a sword. You know, you're just a little girl. Don't
Right.
worry about it. And then she ends up saving everyone.
Yeah.
I like that from a narrative standpoint, but geography-wise, I don't understand it. And you stab the Night King, his entire army explodes into ice dust.
Yeah.
Well, what were they? What's going on?
Yeah, and so other things that didn't make sense. Again, so based on that particular part right there, I'll just stay right there. Theon technically didn't have to die. If he'd have just waited, if Bran had just been like, stand by this tree for 5 more minutes.
Yeah, Three-Eyed Raven,
and
what's up?
And we'll be good. Like, so Theon technically didn't have to die in that moment. It was just, did it make for a great dramatic moment if you're a fan of that character?
Like, does
Yes.
Theon's action there slow down the Night Kings so Arya can get there in time? That's kind of the problem, is because where is Arya in that moment?
Right.
You know, why does it take her to that point to get there? How does she get there? Where is she coming from?
Yeah.
If we had tracked her a little bit and had actual story there versus shock, surprise, victory, you know,
Right.
like, whoa, that's a fist pumping moment, but it doesn't make sense.
Right, and so again, just doing things in service of a dramatic moment. So there's a shot when Jon is trying to make his way to Bran, and he's passing all of these supporting characters, Brienne and Jaime, and they're surrounded by hundreds of White Walkers. That the way that it's shot, the way that you have it set up, doesn't look like there should be any sensible way that they make it out alive, and yet they live. They're and I'm not saying I want everyone to die, but the way that you present it, they should be dead. And the way that you had those millions, like hundreds and thousands of White Walkers just climbing over each other like a la, World War Z, there's no way that they should be alive. It was just way too many. So I felt like if they had dialed back the sheer number, we still would have had a sense of suspense and danger if there were maybe 10,000 or even 5,000, because Winterfell's not a big place.
Yeah,
right?
I would like to know a little bit more about the White Walkers, what their purpose is besides just being death.
Yeah.
And I've never been one who's like, you got Ultron, you get the rest of the bots.
Yeah.
You get the droid ship, you get the rest of the droids. I just never have liked that.
I don't know. There's this theory. There was this interview with DB and Weiss, DB Weiss and whatever the other guy's name is.
David Benioff?
Yeah, the 2 writers, where someone asked them about the White Walkers and the Night King, and they gave a very, not even a cryptic answer, but they gave a very interesting answer that one could easily deduce that that what we saw last weekend may not necessarily be the last time we see the Night King or the White Walkers.
Interesting.
Which makes me even more curious to see these last 3 episodes. But yeah, I'm less excited about battle episodes when it comes to Game of Thrones, and more interested in the character-driven moments in episodes, which we're going to get to tonight. So that's why I'm really excited for
I
tonight's
felt like
episode.
I was Lisa watching The Long Night. You know,
Yeah.
I was like bored through all the action. Let's get on with it.
Same.
Just tell me who wins.
Same. So, sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but that's just how I took that episode.
Well, you and Brian went into that episode in greater length, and if listeners are interested in Game of Thrones at all, I hope you're all subscribed to our YouTube channel, because
Yes.
Turtle Dork and Disco Dork have been killing it on there, and they are who I go to first before I go to anybody else after I watch an episode. So thank you for providing that, and thank you for just continuing that conversation on the Weekend Dork, because I wanted to talk to you, and I wanted to talk to Brian too, but no,
he's not
work,
here.
whatever.
All right, real quick, movie-wise, outside of seeing Avengers again for the 7th time yesterday, I have been spending a lot of time in the theaters with that movie.
And are you still enjoying it like I am?
Oh man, now the last 4 or 5 times, it's almost like I'm just going to watch other people watch that movie, for like what you said. And my older the older brother Michael, he's still younger than me, but he's the oldest of my siblings. If you look at, because we went out for Zachary's birthday, it was his birthday on the 1st, but he wanted to celebrate with the family as a group yesterday, and he wanted to see Avengers because he had waited. So
that was Zach's first time?
Yeah. And
Nice.
He really enjoyed it.
Good.
And so we, at the end we went to dinner, we saw the movie, then we went to dinner, and then we all took a family photo. So, like, if you see that family photo, I can't remember if I posted it online, but I'm going to post it. Michael is the too cool for school, chilling, laid back gangster dude or whatever. Yeah, at the end of Avengers Endgame, because he was sitting right next to me when Tony, spoiler alert, when Tony does his Tony thing, like, Michael is not even trying to smooth Denzel cry. I mean, he's wiping his face.
That's
like,
what I'm talking about. That's what I love. That's what that stoner dude was doing. I mean, he was wiping his face.
Did
That's
you hold
awesome.
his hand?
No, he's too cool for that.
Oh.
He's too cool for that.
Oh, my.
But he was openly weeping. Yeah.
Man, I love that.
I love watching that movie affect people. So yeah, I mean, outside of being a creep watching other people watch this movie and openly weep, I got a chance to see a film called Long Day's Journey into Night. It's a Chinese film. It's a Chinese art house film. Is what it's being marketed as, and I don't necessarily know if I have ever seen or recently seen a Chinese art house film specifically like this. But the selling point, the thing that made me want to go check this movie out was in the advertisement on Facebook. They talk about in articles, that headlines that I read that talk about this movie or reviewed this movie, talk about a sequence in the film. It's an hour-long single one shot that's in 3D, separate from the rest of the movie, which is in 2D. And me, I'm like, okay, ticket sold.
That's
and so,
catnip to disco.
Right. So I do a little bit more research about this sequence, and spoiler, and I'm going to give us mild spoilers. I'm not going to tell too much about what happens during the sequence, maybe. But there's a portion of the movie. And I'm saying all this to say, because at the end, if you're going to ask me, so what did you think about the movie? What did you rate it? I have not rated it on Letterboxd because I'm still processing my thoughts. This actual conversation via Weekend Dork is me working through a lot of my feelings about it, so bear with me. I will say that the movie is about this guy who 20 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, man, if someone had a gun to my head at any point in this movie when I was in the theater, you better tell me what this movie's about, what's going on, or I'm going to fucking kill you. I'd be like, just shoot me on the left side, please. So there's this guy 20 years ago when he was younger, during a summer, he met this girl, and she was the one. It was a magical romance or whatever, and then that was it, and they went their separate ways. But there was something about her that he just could not forget or let go. And my quote is from the movie, the beginning of the movie, actually. And it has gotten, her memory had gotten to the point with him that he had held on to it for so long that the only thing that remained was the feeling of that time. He had begun to forget what she looked like almost, but he could never forget what it felt like being with her. So for some reason he begins to, I think he either sees somebody that reminds him of her or he sees her. But anyway, it's like this noir like type thing where he's trying to find this mystery woman to reconnect with her. So at a certain point in the film, so he's meeting all these different weird characters. And then at a certain point in the film, he comes to understand that maybe she is someone who performs at this karaoke bar. And he goes to the owner, the proprietor of the place, and is like, yo, does such and such work here? And I want to go in. And she's like, well, we don't open for another hour. But yeah, she works here with a bunch of other girls, but they don't start until 11. So you have like an hour and a half to come, till we open. Come back, and then you can go in and see for yourself. So to kill time, he goes to a movie theater. And he sits down in the theater, and he puts on these 3D glasses. And he kind of he's sitting next to a wall, so he tilts his head over and leans it up against the wall. So one could surmise that he falls asleep when he puts the glasses on, right? Because you see a shot of him put the glasses on, head tilts, leans against the wall, and then the lights go down, and so the screen is black. Then the title card comes up, A Long Day Journey into Night, the title of the film, which plays as the title of this meta movie. And then from that point on, we're taken into this 3D one shot of... So this movie that he's watching, it's all in one shot.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what happens, but the end of this the meta movie that he's watching is the end of the film. Because when it gets to the end of that movie, credits roll, and then you get up and you leave out of the Angelica. So it never... This is another part that threw me off. It never goes back to him ending the movie, taking the glasses off, going to that place.
So your
to see
ending with him is him watching the movie.
Is the ending of that movie he watches.
Right.
So when that movie ends, you get up and leave the theater.
So, but the last time you see him is when he puts the glasses on.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, because he's in that movie. That's why I say one could surmise that he falls asleep, because it's like Wizard of Oz and how when Dorothy was in Oz, she was seeing people that were from her real life. So in this movie that he's watching, there are characters that he encountered that are people from the life that we see before he walks into the theater. But
Are you sure you didn't fall asleep? Maybe you fell asleep.
Once or twice, but before this part, yeah. But yeah. So he in that meta movie, he finds that woman, and I would say the last 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes of that movie, I don't even know if it's a resolution, but like that moment that he shares with her was confusing, but it was lyrical, it was beautiful, and I don't know. Like,
so would you recommend it? You don't know what your star rating is, but can you do thumbs up, thumbs down?
I would recommend it because, firstly, it's a film that, while I might not completely grasp it or its concept or whatever, it does feel like a unique vision and story that some artist had in his head, and he said, I got to get this out of my head and onto a canvas for my own sanity or whatever, right? And as an artist, I appreciate that, regardless of if I can appreciate that, regardless of if I don't connect with it or not. And then that's to say nothing about the craftsmanship that goes into his one shot. Because Brad, I got to tell you, as impressive as Victoria is, that German one shot single take film, right? There's just stuff in this movie that, I don't know, you think you've seen it all, like once you watch Victoria, which is the true. There's no masking in Victoria. They don't mask, a cut, and it's the same for this film. And you think like, okay, I've seen it all when it comes to like a single take, because that movie starts like, in a nightclub, then you go out to the city, then you go into a bistro type place, then you go to down the street, then you go into a bank, then you go into a hotel, then you go
car chase,
right? This movie, while it's maybe half the length in that sequence, it's like a 51-minute sequence. It may be half the length of Victoria's 2-hour runtime. It does so much more with that camera
and the 3D works.
That's the only thing is that the Angelica wasn't showing it in 3D. But if it were like from what I'd seen, if I were seeing it in 3D, I could only imagine that it would have, I don't know, I would have just been even more floored, because there are certain moments in there I'm like, how did you do this? And this is coming from a person who thinks I understand like every filmmaking trickery, every behind the scenes. Well, this is how they got this shot, and I just can't wrap my mind around how they did like the blocking that has to take place, the pre-planning for that sequence setup to have to take place is insane to me. Like I just can't imagine, but they do it, and it wasn't distracting. Like, I mean, it feels like it's, that movie is like when Alice goes down the hole into Wonderland. Like, it's very dreamlike. It's very surreal. Like, and there's no masking that. It wears that tone on its sleeve when you get to that movie that he's watching. So that also lends itself to the single take because it feels like it's supposed to be unnatural, right? And after a while, you kind of forget it until the next juncture in that dream-like movie, until the next until they transition to the next scenario or phase or staging or wherever this thing is going to take place. But when it gets to the moments when he's having these character moments with these different people, you don't think about the fact that it's a single shot. And so, I don't know, it's really impressive. So I would say, because some people might dig even everything prior to that. Some people might dig, the noir elements of it. Some people might dig the very art house elements of it. Some people might dig the deeply tragic romance elements of it. And then some people might just dig the hell out of the filmmaking components of the movie. So I don't know. I would say it's worth watching, just to say, at the very least, so you can have a discussion. If you don't like it, say why you feel. Whoa, I feel like it's not a good movie because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but Darren, I love to hate things without watching it.
Yeah, but if you're gonna hate, hate with a reason. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, that's my weekend dork. I'm still confused about how I feel about that movie, but I can't stop thinking about the last shot, the last moment. And there's something that he says earlier in the film that is repeated later in the film, but it is visualized this time, and I found it extremely moving. So yeah, I was confused. Like when the credits came up, I was like, okay, I waited because I was like, okay, these are the credits for the movie. We're gonna cut back to him, and then he's gonna leave. No, it was the lights came up in the angelic, and I was like, wait, I gotta leave too. What happens with this guy? Because you don't see him leave and go into that karaoke bar to find out if that woman was actually working there. We don't get that. So the closure is for that character in the real movie terms is the closure that he got for that character in that scene in the meta movie, because he does get some type of closure, I guess. So you have to take that as his happy ending, I guess, which is odd to me. So yeah, it was a thing. Huh?
Thumbs up.
You know what? A for effort, I guess. A for effort. If I end up watching that movie again, I may come away with a different appreciation because I know what to expect now. My first watch, I was just like, okay, where is this going? So I don't know, but yeah. What's coming up? What are you looking forward to this week, Wife Dork?
Ooh, I'm first. I wish Brian was here. Then I'd steal his answer. What's coming out? Pikachu is coming out? I guess nothing then.
Detective. Oh, Detective Pikachu. He's a detective. Listen. You're cold-blooded.
I don't know.
You're not at all excited about Detective Pikachu?
I don't blame her, though.
I have no feeling.
Oh, we got two Detective Pikachu haters here, huh?
I'm going to see the movie because it's been getting good reviews. Plus, ever since the first trailer, I was like, okay, the designs for the Pokemon don't suck. This is not Sonic the Hedgehog. And Sia wants to see it, so I'm going to go see it. But I just feel like I'm not dying. I don't feel like I have to go see it on Thursday night. You know what I'm saying?
Like, to me, it's like, I have no Pokemon nostalgia.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Same.
Like, maybe if I was like 5 years
but
younger.
I like Ryan Reynolds making voices. I like Deadpool. No, I don't.
I don't like Deadpool.
I do.
You do.
I like that kid
and I don't like
from
the Get Up.
Power
Get Down.
Yeah.
The Get Down.
The Get Down.
Oh, you mean Justice
Smith.
Smith from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
I'm going to say from Justice Smith from the Get Down.
I like that kid. I'm happy to see his face.
Same.
What else is coming out?
We haven't seen. It's out. We haven't watched it yet. I'm looking forward to it. It's Long Shot, Charlize Theron, Seth Rogen film.
So I was listening to Jackie and Lori, and they're like, this is like such a vanity movie, and like the only reason
look,
he's making that movie is so that he can make out with Charlize Theron, and there's no way he'd be cast as that guy. Like, there's no movie where that would be reversed and blah, blah, blah.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Wait. So because he's a goofy-looking guy or not an A-list handsome guy, he can't get with a beautiful woman?
Not if he didn't write the movie and then be in the movie and then cast the movie with himself
that's
in it.
always been the issue with rom-coms in general. It's always been the schlubby dude and the hot woman. Like, that's tradition, Lisa.
Except for My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay.
A classic.
but I don't. That's possible. Like there's a.
But then she's actually pretty cute by the end.
I'm gonna say that. Okay, all right. This is not a backhanded compliment, Brad. I'm just saying you're no Brad Pitt. You're a nice looking guy.
Dude, I agree.
But you got a
am
beautiful.
Seth Rogen.
You got Charlize Theron. So
That's right.
It
Yeah,
can
but
happen.
like
It's
this
truth
is
to
never.
that.
There's no this. The magic that Brad and I have is out of this world. It
I
cannot
know.
be captured in art.
That's not. I don't have as big a problem. I'm not here to reject people who do have a problem with
Yeah.
Seth Rogen being
He didn't write it,
cast,
by the way. Sorry.
Across from Charlize Theron. I understand it is part of the convention, and you do not see that reversed too often. That being said, I don't give a shit. It looks funny as hell, and I love those two people.
Me too.
Right?
I'm just repeating things I heard other podcasters say because I'm completely unoriginal.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too.
The
but
Biggest
I'm
Little
going-
Farm comes out. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
which I have not seen.
Yeah.
So that comes out Friday as well.
Yeah,
liked it.
it is the movie that turned Brad vegetarian.
Oh,
I mean, I haven't had any meat since.
Jesus. But it's good.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
I'm
Meat
gonna-
is great.
And
wanna
it's
see it.
it's not that kind of movie, but Brad saw a pig in it, and he's like, pigs are people too, and
Oh,
he
Straight up
stopped
what
eating
happened.
meat.
I was
think
like,
it's so
Emma,
sweet.
I can't eat Emma.
yay. Okay. Well,
I think
I'm
that's
looking
a
forward
wonderful.
to that.
It's
Yeah.
heartwarming.
Okay.
Okay.
At the
you?
Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester on Wednesday, they're doing a screening of the documentary Chef Flynn, and documentarian Cameron Yates is going to be there in person. I'm going to drive out to watch that. It's about this 10-year-old kid who transformed his living room into a supper club, and he used his classmates as cooks, and now he gained a little bit of fame for doing that, and he's trying to like challenge the culinary world. So, I love food docs.
It's like that episode of Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Except for instead of the president, he's a chef.
Yep.
What?
The latest episode of The Twilight Zone was pretty good. Oh, no, that wasn't the latest. That was the one before that. The John Cho episode was really good. I'm actually really enjoying The Twilight Zone. I look forward to the new episode on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that in the future.
I was at when I was at the theater at one of my many Avengers screenings beforehand, the pre-show. They showed an advertisement for this. I think it was a Deep Space Nine doc.
Yeah,
they're going to
yeah.
show in the theaters. Are you going?
I want to see that. Yeah, it's
one?
What We Leave Behind.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm blanking on the showrunner of DS9. He directed it. Took over for Adam Nimoy, who started off as the director of the doc and departed ways. Ira 11. Whew. Ira 11? Ooh, my brain's
I think
melting.
you're right. It's
Yeah.
Ira something.
Yeah, Ira Bear.
Yeah.
Ira 11 wrote Rosemary's Baby.
We got to see panels on this when we were at Trek Vegas.
Yeah, so it looks good. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course,
love Deep Space
DS9
Nine.
is the best Star Trek, so.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Star
Oh, yeah.
Trek. I think that's the first Brad's ever said that
I
publicly.
mean, original series is the best, but
Yeah, see, there you go. He takes it right back.
After original series, DS9's
the best. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I saw that. And I
Especially
thought
with
about you.
how just Discovery ended. Ugh.
Second season's not great.
Season 3, new showrunner.
Yeah.
It can all be saved.
Second season of Discovery, Darren. I don't think we did. We talk about it on
No.
the show?
No, because who would want to
It's
talk about that
garbage.
hurt?
Hated
No.
it so bad. Hated it so bad.
He started a fight with his mom over it
I did.
because she liked it. So maybe it's great.
So
But
third season, looking forward to it, even though it completely betrayed the concept
still
of the
love
show.
the
But
cast.
whatever.
Dang. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That
It's
saddens
okay.
me.
It should. Sad as me.
Huh. All right. Well, I too am looking forward to the biggest little farm or littlest big
Yeah.
farm. Detective Pikachu. I'm looking for goddamn tickets for Godzilla King of Monsters to go on sale because I'm telling you, every time I went to see the Avengers, they showed that trailer and it just made it unbearable to me. So yeah, it troubles me that tickets haven't gone on sale yet.
They will.
Because I need to see
You'll
that
see
movie.
it sometime.
So that's what I'm looking forward to, waiting for that movie, tickets to go on sale. And also the next episode, which would be the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones next Sunday, as there are only 6 episodes in this season. So, yeah, that's all I'm looking forward to. The Turtle Dork can be found at The Turtle Dork on Twitter, at The Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. Wife Dork can be found at Sidewalk Siren and at Bake Dork on Twitter and on Instagram. And she is also at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd. Brad Gullickson is at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. And I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. That is going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your week. stay tuned because on Friday we will have a fistful of detectives in honor of Detective Pikachu,
which we're all excited about.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you all for listening, and until next time.